Welcome to Safe Money and Income Radio with military veteran, federal retirement consultant, and leader in finance as recognized by Top 100 magazine, your host, Daryl Blackmon. Daryl is a retirement and income specialist, primarily serving the Eastern U.S., but he's sought after nationally for his expertise in helping people secure their retirements. Mr. Blackmon is a licensed financial professional in numerous states throughout the country. He specializes in working with people who are near retirement and those who have already retired with wealth management, income planning, and asset protection strategies using various insurance-based financial products. And now, here to talk with you about securing your retirement, your host, Daryl Blackmon.
Welcome to Safe Money and Income Radio. I'm Daryl Blackmon, an asset and retirement protection specialist serving your local area. Have you ever heard of spin-down income planning? It is the most common type of financial planning in our industry. In fact, about 95% of all financial professionals practice this type of planning. And even though spin-down strategies are so common, you might have never heard about them. Unfortunately, financial planners don't usually explain the foundational theories behind their strategies. So what is spin-down planning? Spin-down planning is when you try to build up a pile of retirement money based on a hypothetical rate of growth. It is hypothetical because you don't know what your growth rate will be or if you will have any growth at all. It is very common for financial planners to look to past results to try and illustrate what might happen in the future. So the growth estimates are purely speculation. One thing is for sure, no financial planner that sells or recommends risk-based accounts is going to illustrate you losing money or getting no growth. For this reason, it is not uncommon for expectations to be set on the high side of what might actually happen. For example, could you lose 40% of your account tomorrow? The answer, of course, is yes. Has any financial planner illustrated that possibility for you? Not likely. Also, money isn't supposed to grow just for the sake of growth. Obviously, at some point, usually your retirement date, a financial advisor will show you how much money you can take out of that pile to spend for the rest of your life. This is what is called a spin-down rate. The standard rule for spending down retirement funds was established by William Bingen in October of 1994 when he published a study called Determining Withdrawal Rates Using Historical Data. In this study, Bingen theorized that with a proper mix of bonds and stocks, you could withdraw 4% of your retirement money each year and have a reasonable chance of not outliving your money. Now let's stop for a second and think about this. Did you notice that Bingen theorized that you could have a reasonable chance of not outliving your money? What on earth is reasonable about having a chance of outliving your money? Before we continue with our explanation of this hypothetical and theoretical planning strategy, let me assure you that our income planning is not based on a reasonable chance, but rather on a guaranteed outcome. It is better to know what is going to happen instead of hoping for a positive outcome from the process of guessing. Give me a call now at 844-837-SAFE. Once we talk, I can determine if we should meet, but first, I must determine if I can significantly help you. My number again is 844-837-7233. That's 844-837-7233. So let's get back to Bingen's 4% spin-down theory. This guessing game of pulling 4% of your retirement funds to live on in the hopes that you would not outlive your money was used for almost 2 decades before it was realized that this was way too aggressive. In August of 2011, Wade D. Fowle, PhD, a professor of retirement income at the American College, published another paper titled, "Can We Predict the Sustainable Withdrawal Rate for New Retirees?" This was published in the Journal of Financial Planning and debunked the 4% rule for retirement income spin-down. The paper explains how a safe withdrawal rate with 60% of your money in stocks and 40% of your money in bonds varies widely depending upon circumstances that are unpredictable. And for some people retiring, the safe withdrawal rate could be as low as 1.5%. Now, 1.5% is a lot different than 4%. Basically, if you have $1 million, that means you can only draw out $15,000 a year and have a reasonable certainty that your money will last the rest of your life. Now, how can that be true? It is as simple as math. If you have $1 million, take out 4% a year, and then experience a massive market loss, you will have to withdraw a much larger percentage of your funds to keep the same amount of income. A 4% withdrawal can easily turn into an 8% withdrawal, and then a 12% withdrawal because of market losses. Once you experience a significant loss, it is almost impossible to recover. It's kind of like tipping over some dominoes. You can't undo dominoes falling once the first one tips over. If you don't believe me, let me prove this to you. We have a complimentary handout that I would like to provide you called the sequential rate of return risk illustration. It mathematically proves the massive negative impact on the sustainability of your retirement with a single significant market loss. If your retirement money is primarily invested in funds where you are exposed to market risk and someone is not talking to you about sequential rate of return risk, then you have a ticking time bomb waiting to go off, and you don't even know it. Not only that, but we have income plans that pay out guaranteed income for life, even on a joint basis, that neither you nor your spouse can outlive. Now, these income plans can pay out substantially more than 4% of your income account balance. These accounts can grow at rates of up to 7% or more for the purpose of receiving guaranteed lifetime income. Why would you want to be put in position to withdraw less from your retirement account because you are worried about running out of money before you die when you can withdraw more and never outlive your income? If you'd like to learn more, now would be a great time to call me for your complimentary Safe Money and Income book and Safe Money and Income kit at 844-837-SAFE. Let's work together to take income uncertainty out of your retirement so you can enjoy the golden years without financial stress. Again, our number is 844-837-7233. Well, I must take a short break. This is Daryl Blackmon, and you're listening to Safe Money and Income Radio. Let's pause for some exciting announcements.
The Dow was down more than 400 points at the lows of the day.
With the market, it can be very volatile. I mean, the Dow lost 1,000 points in the first week. Yeah. It can make an investor very disconcerted about what's going on.
And do you think that investors and Americans are prepared for that?
Well, not at all.
What started in America last year has now spread to every part of the world.
This market is as volatile as you'll ever see.
Traders say this is the craziest day they have ever seen in these markets. Veteran traders saying they've never seen anything like it. The movement in oil prices so fast, so furious.
Cicero was right.
It's the Safe Money and Income radio program.
We're in the last days of this country surviving.
Are you a federal employee approaching retirement? Did you know that Daryl Blackmon is a FINRA-recognized federal retirement consultant and a subject matter expert on your employee benefits? For over 14 years, Daryl has helped hundreds of federal employees around the country plan for retirement success. He can also help you. You can call Daryl now at 844-837-SAFE. That's 844-837-7233. If you are at least age 59 and planning to retire soon, contact Daryl today for a complimentary benefits analysis and retirement plan review. Again, Daryl's number is 844-837-SAFE. That's 844-837-7233. You're listening to Safe Money and Income Radio with your host, Daryl Blackmon.
Thank you for tuning in to Safe Money and Income Radio. I am Daryl Blackmon, a market risk mitigation specialist, helping clients with retirement money preservation and income planning. When I talk to my clients, one of the most common questions I get is, what kind of return can I get on my money? My answer to that question is another question. For what purpose? Sometimes that question confuses the people I'm talking to. They might say, for what purpose? What do you mean by that? I just want my money to grow. Honestly, this is one of the things that drives me crazy about the financial planning industry. The financial news, the brokerage houses, and so many so-called financial planning experts talk about growth, but don't talk about purpose. For example, what if you had $100,000 and it grew by 20%? You might feel good because now you have $120,000. But then, what if your investment experienced a 20% loss? Now you feel bad because a 20% loss of $120,000 brings your account value to $96,000. Now you have less money than what you started with. First you felt great, and then you felt terrible. But none of those emotions were based on purpose, just gain and loss. If there's no purpose for your money, then what does it matter if it grows or declines? This is why I say there is no planning without purpose. There has to be something you're trying to accomplish with your money for a return on your investment to be important. If you want a retirement plan with purpose, not just arbitrary and hypothetical predictions of growth that might never materialize and can disappear overnight, then we need to talk. Give me a call now at 844-837-SAFE. That's 844-837-7233. Once we talk, I can determine if we should meet, but first I must determine if I can significantly help you. When you call, be sure to ask me for your complimentary Safe Money and Income book and Safe Money and Income kit. My number again is 844-837-7233. That's 844-837-7233. Would you like up to a 10% bonus on your deposit for the purpose of wealth preservation and up to a 7% compounded annual interest rate with a purpose for lifetime income you can never outlive? Once again, my number is 844-837-7233. That's 844-837-7233. Let's think about purpose of money planning in terms of building a house. If you were to build a house, you need to ask yourself, what are you trying to accomplish? First, you'll want to have enough rooms in the house, right? Think of your dream house right now. I bet you can tell me how many rooms it would have and the purpose of each of those rooms. You might be thinking about your current house right now and how you would make your new house different to better fulfill the purpose you want to get out of the house. If you're like most people, having enough rooms is not the only thing to consider. You might have an opinion on how the house would look because a certain design makes you feel good about the house you live in. You might want it to be reliable and have appliances and equipment that adequately perform their functions and don't break down. Most importantly, I bet you would want a house to be safe and built to modern day building codes. Am I right? Imagine if your new house didn't have a guest room and when your grandkids came over with their parents, there was no place for them to sleep. Imagine you had a brand new garage door, but every time you hit the opener, the door wouldn't open because the equipment was defective. Imagine building a nice, big, new, beautiful home only to enjoy it for a short time and then watch it burn to the ground because it was built without the purpose of being safe. Now think about your retirement money. What are you trying to accomplish? What good is money if it doesn't fulfill a purpose? Maybe we should talk. Don't you think so? Now would be a great time to call me for your complimentary Safe Money and Income book and Safe Money and Income kit. My number is 844-837-SAFE. That's 844-837-7233. I promise that we will not talk about retirement products or rates of growth without the specific intention to fulfill a meaningful, dependable purpose in your life and the lives of those you love and who depend upon you. Again, our number is 844-837-SAFE. That's 844-837-7233. Houses don't burn down very often anymore because we've learned a long time ago that building a house means building something that keeps its occupants safe. Unfortunately, I don't think we have learned that lesson when it comes to retirement planning. I see people all euphoric when the market goes up and depressed when the market goes down. If people were building their retirement for the purpose of living in their retirement, they wouldn't be exposing their retirement to being burned down by market risk. Just like when you build a house, you want it to be safe. What good is all that time and money of investing in a home just to lose it? The same thing is true for your home, is true for your retirement. If you build a retirement, you build it to live in, not just to look at a big bank account value and then one day see it disappear because you didn't protect it. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? How is your retirement built? Look at what you're doing with your retirement right now and ask yourself, do I have an income floor that I can count on? Is it adequate? Is it keeping up with inflation? Will it survive the death of a spouse when Social Security and or pension income is lost? Will it be deteriorated by long-term care costs? Do I have a tax-free income replacement strategy? These are all very important questions that need answers you can count on. Give us a call, 844-837-SAFE. Again, that's 844-837-7233. This is Daryl Blackmon, your host of Safe Money and Income Radio. I'll be right back after this informative message.
This is a financial crisis, and anyone who doesn't admit that is just kidding himself.
Although there are more and more people saying that the U.S. economy will be in a recession, it is still a minority position.
These are real numbers, what's happening in Europe, what's happening overseas, what's happening on the political landscape right now.
Let's go to the financial desk in New York to find out what's happening on Wall Street.
There's only one word to describe what's happening, and that is panic.
You're listening to Safe Money and Income Radio.
I think it's going to get worse.
Are you concerned about long-term care? You're also probably concerned about paying the high cost of long-term care coverage and increasing rates. Some long-term care rates have increased by as much as 40%. Thanks to recent changes made by Congress, you may be able to use non-qualified tax-deferred retirement money to pay for your long-term care tax-free. Some hybrid long-term care annuities or life insurance solutions can even double or triple your funds available for care. If you have non-critical health issues, you should still call us. Some insurance products have simplified underwriting, and a simple telephone interview will determine your qualification. Call us now if you want information on this opportunity to use tax-free money to pay for your long-term care. Our phone number is 844-837-SAFE. That's 844-837-7233. You can call us now or any day of the week. Our number again is 844-837-SAFE. That's 844-837-7233. Now back to more Safe Money and Income Radio with your host, Daryl Blackmon.
Welcome back to Safe Money and Income Radio. I'm Daryl Blackmon, a Safe Money retirement specialist. So I was talking to one of my clients the other day. Let's call him Joe. And he was telling me about how his friend made a 22% return in the market last year. Now, for many reasons, I usually don't give a statement like that much attention. A lot of times, I don't even ask where they were invested because claims like that are rarely true. The 22% return rarely accounts for fees and taxes. Also, people love to talk about a 22% return in reference to one investment they have with a portion of their money. If someone has $1 million and invests $50,000 of that into something they get a 22% return on, then guess what? They'll probably talk about that at a party. That is a 22% return on 5% of their money. It might make good for a good story over some cocktails, but mathematically, it's not that impressive. People never talk about the money they lost or the total return on all their money. Now, that being said, for some reason this time, I didn't dismiss the statement. I had what I would call an impulsive epiphany. I asked Joe if his friend spent all the money as soon as the year ended. He asked me, "What do you mean, Daryl?" I asked Joe again, "Is the money gone? Did he spend it?" Joe said, "No, I don't think so." So I asked, "Is it still invested where he made the 22% return?" And he said, "I don't know, but I think so." Then I asked Joe a question he will never forget. I said, "Joe, then how do you know he made a 22% return?" The phone went silent. I could hear the gears turning in his head, and then quietly, humbly, Joe answered, "I don't know." Before we get back to this encounter with Joe, let me ask you, what if you could know? What if you couldn't know that any returns you have, you get to keep? If you are one of those people that doesn't want to see their entire life's efforts disappear overnight because of something you have absolutely no control over, but you still want generous growth opportunities, give me a call now at 844-837-SAFE. Again, that's 844-837-7233. Once we talk, I can determine if we should meet, but first I must determine if I can significantly help you. When you call, be sure to ask me for your complimentary Safe Money and Income book and Safe Money and Income kit. Again, my number is 844-837-7233. That's 844-837-7233. So let's get back to my conversation with Joe. Some of you listening have already figured out why a 22% return is not a 22% return if it is still invested. But let me outline this just in case. Let's illustrate this with some other questions. If you are married and you have one really good year of married life, is that a successful marriage? If you have children and you win Father or Mother of the Year for 1 year in that child's life, does that make you a successful parent? If you have a job and 1 year you exceed in every expectation your boss had for you, does that mean you have a successful career? Of course not. You've heard the saying, don't count your chickens until they hatch. When it comes to retirement, when do your chickens hatch? Ironically, your retirement chicken hatches when your life is over. When it comes to money, people love to measure success in segments. They take a portion of their money they had the best performance over a convenient period of time and make themselves feel good by ignoring all their other money and the long-term consequences of risk. And you see this all the time, not just from the guy bragging about his money at a party. You see it on the financial news, when they get all giddy because the market is up for that day. You see it from brokers and advisors when they talk about last year's results from one investment fund they have out of hundreds of other funds where their clients have lost money. Isn't it time to think about the long game of retirement? What does a return on a portion of your money over the last year, last month, or last decade have to do with anything when you still have a life to live? Now would be a great time to call me for your complimentary Safe Money and Income book and Safe Money and Income kit. My number is 844-837-SAFE. That's 844-837-7233. We will provide you with this amazing retirement resource at our expense. Isn't it time to make sure your gains you get are the gains you get to keep? Again, our number is 844-837-SAFE. That's 844-837-7233. There's a word for exaggerated claims when someone cannot be counted on. And I won't say that on the radio, but you know the word that I'm talking about. That's some You know from listening to my show over the weeks that I'm a straight shooter. I think retirement shouldn't be about laziness, but it also shouldn't be about stress that comes from striving and taking on risks that could put your retirement in jeopardy. I also think retirement should be about honesty. I think we should all be wiser as we get older, and we shouldn't call something a gain when it can be taken away. A 22% gain that is still exposed to market risk is not a 22% gain because you can't count on it. How do you take a gain and turn it into a permanent gain that is protected from loss and that you can't outlive? That, my friend, is what I would like to talk to you about. My number again is 844-837-SAFE. That's 844-837-7233. I look forward to us having a meaningful conversation. Well, that's all the time I have for Safe Money and Income Radio this week. Before I go, I want you to know that I sleep at night knowing that my clients have retirement plans that remove the stress of market loss from the money they depend on for retirement. I want you to sleep at night too. Until next time at the same time, I'm Daryl Blackmon, reminding you to stay safe so you can step into a secure future.
You've been listening to Safe Money and Income Radio with your host, Daryl Blackmon. Find out how to contractually guarantee that your hard-earned money is safe while avoiding market loss so you can have the retirement that you deserve. Call Daryl Blackmon now for your complimentary Safe Money and Income book and Safe Money and Income kit at 844-837-SAFE. That's 844-837-7233. The preceding information does not represent tax, legal, or investment advice. Surrender charges apply to base contracts. Optional lifetime income benefit riders are used to calculate lifetime payments only and are not available for cash surrender or in a death benefit unless specified in the annuity contract. Fees may apply. Guarantees are based on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the insurance company. No information presented today should be acted upon without meeting with a qualified and licensed professional. Obviously, by calling us now, you are just taking the first step towards protecting your retirement. It's important that you read all insurance contract disclosures carefully before making a purchase decision. Rates and returns mentioned on this program are subject to change without notice.